Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Bootleg, a Tennessee high school football show. We've been talking high school football throughout the season. Of course, during the high school football playoffs, we have added our statewide group of high school riders from Knoxville to Memphis, and it's semifinal week, folks. 1 week left before we head to Cookeville. Yes, we've made it this far, and all indications are, unless something weird happens, we'll be playing a week from Thursday. We'll be in Cookeville in the state championships. Now we're going to go into the semifinal games. We're going to start in 1A and work our way through 6A. Coalfield at South Pittsburgh. Coalfield's 12-0. South Pittsburgh is 12-1. Of course, South Pittsburgh, they play a very difficult schedule. I'm going to ask Aaron Torres. I mean, he covers Coalfield. What do you think about this game?
So South Pitt's been the heavy favorite all season to win the state championship. Coalfield has had a very good season. I mean, they're in the semifinals for the first time since 2014. I have South Pitt winning this game, but I think Coalfield would still be able to put up a fight. They have Seth Lowe, who's rushed for 808 yards and 16 touchdowns this season. Coalfield has. I just think South Pitt, with two finalists for the Mr. Football Award, they're just really good and really talented. I have South Pitt winning that game.
And you're speaking of Hunter Frame of South Pitt and Jared Stone of South Pitt. Both of those two players are still alive in the playoffs here. Next game, Fayetteville 11-2 at Lake County, just 7-1. Lake County, wasn't able to play several games, I guess, due to COVID. But Fayetteville, I'll talk about Fayetteville more than Lake County. And of course, one thing about Lake County, give them credit, they're in their, I believe, their fourth state semifinal in a row. So those freshmen have played in the semifinal all 4 years. I like this Fayetteville team. Again, this is the team that was the region champion a year ago, was in the playoffs, top spot, and then they found out they had played an ineligible player and had to forfeit basically all their region games, and we're removed from the playoffs there. It was a great, it was a huge story, and it's kind of a tragedy for them as well. They've done there. They've done really well this year. They got a freshman running back, KJ Jackson. Really like him. Put up big numbers this year. And then against Lake County, I'll be honest with you, Lake County don't know a whole lot. Of course, the new coach there after Coach Puckett went to Shelbyville. Personally, I thought this might be a little bit of a reloading year with all the talent that they had graduated, especially the coach's son and stuff. But the youngest son went to Shelbyville with them. But obviously, they made a good run there. I think Fayetteville probably, to me, is the favorite in this game. Just to look at who they played. Of course, they won a big game against Moore County last week. I'm going to ask Michael Odom, the Jackson's son. I know it's kind of out of your area, but you're kind of a little bit familiar with them. What's your thoughts on Lake County?
Lake County has dealt with COVID. They missed their first 2 games of the season, plus week 10 and week 11. And it, like you said, it's a new team. I think they bring back 1 or 2 players offensively, and I think 2 players defensively. So this is not what you're going to see from last year's run when they went 15-0 and won the 1A state championship. This is a different looking team. But that 52-8 win over West Carroll this past week really surprised me.
Well, my question to you, Michael, is there any airport close by where the team could just charter a plane and go from Fayetteville to Lake County?
I mean, there's Reelfoot Lake, so if they could come in on one of those the lake boats and land on the water, I think that might work.
There you go. That's what they can do. That would speed up the process, I think, of them getting over there. Meigs County 12-0 at Trousdale County 11-2. That's my game to speak of. Meigs County, of course, they've been one of the favorites the last few years. I'm going to talk about this Trousdale County team there. They have, they're supposed to be here. They're Trousdale County. I mean, they're one of the storied programs in Tennessee, kind of like a South Pittsburgh. Cameron Rankins has done a great job running the football. They are a team that they're going to run the football. They're not going to sit there and spread it out. They're going to run a lot of fullback stuff, and they're going to run straight at you. They're not going to do anything real fancy. But this team has done a great job of figuring out what works best for them. Of course, they beat Watertown, who had given them one of their losses in the regular season. I do think Meigs County is the favorite. Will Meadows is a Mr. Football Finals from there, and they really, if you look at Trousdale, there wasn't a kid on that team that really is a Mr. Football finalist, but they've got a good team. So I mean, Trousdale, I think I may be picking them in the upset there, but we'll see what happens there. I want to go Waverly at Peabody, and I'm going to bring Michael Odom back in there. He's the king of West Tennessee rural area there. Peabody, it's been like forever since they lost a game.
35 straight wins, which is longest active winning streak in the state, 8th in the nation. They are 12-0 on the year. This year, a lot mirrors last year. If we remember back to last year in the quarterfinals, Peabody had to have something special to beat Fairleigh. Fairleigh was in the victory formation, ready to win the game, and they fumbled the snap. Peabody was able to land on it, score, and then score in overtime to win. Well, Friday night in the quarters, McKenzie was up 10-7, with minute 42 to play. They kicked a field goal, tied it, and then scored in overtime to win. So I feel like Peabody is a team of destiny. This is, again, a totally different lineup than what they won the state title with last year. Cooper Bogus, last year's 2A Mr. Football, is gone. Sam Dragers is now quarterback. They do have a Mr. Football finalist again this year. And Khalid Ganaway, who has really dominated their offense, rushed for 1,572 yards, 21 touchdowns. But this Waverly team, they're 4-0 since taking a loss to Westview. And in those 4 games, they've outscored their opponents 115-21. So this is not a team that Peabody can overlook.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, here's the thing. Randall Bolden, former coach at Whitwell, won a state title at Whitwell, is back at Waverly at his alma mater. I like what he's done there. Of course, it's their first semifinal, and Waverly's first semifinal since 2018, where they lost to Peabody 35-21. I guess that was the start of the run, you might say. Defense, like I said, defense giving up 21 points in 3 playoff games. I think that's big. We'll see what happens there. I think Peabody is the overwhelming favorite. I think that it would be a pretty massive upset in the state if Waverly advances, but we'll see what happens there. 3A, Alcoa at Red Bank. Alcoa 12-1, Red Bank 10-0. Of course, they had some games that didn't play because of COVID. Alcoa, the Fighting Gary Rankins, back in another semifinal, just like they are just about every other year. What's your take on Alcoa?
I have Alcoa winning in a shutout. Alcoa's defense has shut out 2 of its 3 playoff opponents. And last week they shut out Gatlinburg Pittman in the second half. Gray Carroll, Georgia Tech commitment, Mr. Football finalist for Alcoa for the 2nd straight year. I don't see how Red Bank beats Alcoa. If Red Bank beats Alcoa somehow, I'm shaking my head and I'm shaking Ben's head.
Can we have that on the record?
Yes, that's on the record. I just don't see how Red Bank is beating Alcoa.
Okay, and can we get video? Not so much of Buddy. We don't really want Buddy to get his head shaved because I think that would be cruel to bunnies. But can we get video of you getting your head shaved?
Yes.
And can we have that done on the field after the game?
Yes. The only way Alcoa loses is if they show up to the game tired and exhausted because of the 2-hour drive, or about an hour and a half, I guess, from Alcoa to Chattanooga. Alcoa's just been dominant all year. Red Bank's in the semifinals for the first time since 2017, and they were cut out by Alcoa 34-0 that year.
And final question before we go to Pearl and Milan. When they shave your head on the field, of course, we want that on the 50-yard line with video. And can we please give them some dull razors, too, to do that with?
Okay.
All right, there you go. I think I'll pick Alcoa, but secretly I think I'm rooting for Red Bank down just to see Aaron join the Bald Head Club. Pearl Cone 8-0 at Milan 10-1. Let me talk about Pearl before someone talks about Anthony Brown and his man crush. But Pearl Cone 8-0. Love what Martino Owens, one interception all year. I think 245 yards passing last week. This team is a team of destiny. Yeah, they gave up 20 points to Stewart County. First points that they've given up since their second week of the season. But what that score doesn't tell you is William Parker Griffin did not play because he was resting an elbow. He got hit on his funny bone the week before, so they decided to rest him. They had a safety out, and I think they had one other player out resting them. So that was without three. They won 50-something to 20. Thinking about this matchup, resting some people, getting some people, letting some people heal up. So this team, 20 points, ignore that. This team is going to go into Milan focused on a win. We're going to see how good that Milan secondary is. Of course, Martina Owens is a heck of a quarterback, but Barian Brown, who will be one of the top prospects in the state next year, is a big-time threat. You got Kendrick Breedlove going to Ole Miss is a big threat. And then the guy that everyone forgets because he's like 5'3", 5'5", Ivan Dayton, the Daytona 500 runner, as Catfish, the PA announcer, always used to say. He's so quick and elusive as being such a short running back. He will give people fits because you just lose him in a line of scrimmage. I think it's going to be a lot of issues there for Milan. Now I'll give it over to Anthony Brown's publicist, Michael Odom. What do you have to say about Milan?
Pearl Cone comes in as the favorite in this game. There's no doubt about that. Milan is still trying to rebuild. Let's remember last year, not a great season. Made it to the second round of the playoffs. Didn't play well, but they're playing a lot better. A big reason for that is, as Tom said, Anthony Brown. Brown is transferred in from Liberty and he's a Mr. Football finalist along with Martino Owens. Brown has 249 passing yards with 6 touchdowns, 927 rushing yards, 8 touchdowns, and 298 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. The problem is you can't just key on Anthony because they have this big back in Gadarius Easley. And he had a weightlifting video last week in cowboy boots. And he is the real deal. He can absolutely maul through players, and that's going to be the key for Pearl is to play him physically. He has over close to 1,200 yards rushing right now with 13 touchdowns, and that is going to be the key. If Pearl Cone could slow down easily, they have a good chance of winning.
I'm just trying to envision someone weightlifting in cowboy boots. That's all. That's the image I have in my head.
He did it. It's if you look at the Milan football Twitter, that they put him up there weightlifting in cowboy boots.
Okay. Going to 4A on that note, Elizabethton 13-0, defending state champ. They go to Nolensville 8-3. Of course, Elizabethton has 2 Mr. Football finalists in Troy Parker Hughes and Bryson Rollins. That's I'm gonna give it over to Joe Spears to talk about Nolensville, but obviously having 2 Mr. Football finalists, 2 of the top 3 players in the state in AAA, that's a big task for Nolensville.
Yeah, and Nolensville probably pulled the upset of the week last week, right? They beat undefeated Tullahoma 15-14. Got what would be the game-winning safety with just under 5 minutes remaining. Samson Johnson, that's the running back's name. He had a 99-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. So Nolensville is kind of the Cinderella of these playoffs, and they're playing well, but they ran into Elizabethton last year and got blown out 34-12. They're playing well recently, though. They've had a couple losses this year, but they get a host, Elizabethton, with revenge on their minds, but this is going to be a tough task for them. Getting that win over Tullahoma was the highlight of their season, and it's an emotional win, but Elizabethton's rolling. I know they had a close game against Greenville last week, but this is the biggest test of the year for the Knights.
And obviously, you got Nolensville, who lost a regular season meeting with Tullahoma, who was really good during the season. They got a chance to avenge that, and they lost to Brentwood in a rescheduled game, I believe, in week 1, and of course, Brentwood's still playing in 6A. The difference, I think, two big things from last year for this Nolensville team. They don't have Tim Kutris at receiver and DB. Of course, they lost him in the first quarter or first half to a knee injury. They're up there, and more importantly, they are not playing at Elizabethton. They don't have to drive clear to East Tennessee. From what I understand, it is a very difficult to play. They rock music loudly the whole game. It's very difficult there to play. So now they have them at their own place, under their own scenarios. They get to do everything, walkthroughs and everything at their own field. I do think they are a significant underdog. I think everyone probably realizes that. But hey, this is a team that no one picked to win against Tullahoma. Now you can say, well, they had to have a safety, and they had to have a 99-yard kickoff return. But that's every game. Every game there needs to be big plays. Samson Johnson's a young running back. I think he's a sophomore. Done a great job there for Paul Derrick. You touched on him. I think he's a star of the future. Ryder Gallardi has had a great season at quarterback there. There's so many great quarterbacks. We don't really talk about Ryder, but he's done a good job running an offense there. And I think it would be a significant upset when you look at what Elizabethton returns this year, because they return a good portion of their team. But I think Nolensville playing at home is going to help them a lot. I do think Elizabethton is at least a 2-score favorite. Would be my opinion. Going to look at the next one. This is an all Michael Odom matchup. Lexington 12-1 at Haywood 9-3. Talk to me, buddy. Not Buddy the Bunny, but Buddy Michael.
Lexington is very one-dimensional. They are going to run the ball, and you're going to have to stop them. And that's what Haywood's defense has got to do. Now, Lexington's offensive line averages 285 across the front, and that's what makes the difference. And I think that is going to be the deciding point, is that Lexington's line is going to be hard to stop. Lexington's going to open up holes for Isaiah and Jordan. There's a big question around Haywood. What is this Haywood team? They've only played 7 games on the field. Their first 2 were Henry County, who's playing this week, and Covington, who could be playing this week if they didn't have a COVID loss, and were knocked out of the playoffs. Those were 2 very good teams. And then they've blown out teams like Ripley and Southside. They've had a lot of COVID wins throughout the season. So how good is this team? That's a big question mark. They have a new quarterback in Kylie Newbern. But remember, this Haywood team has been in this game for 4 straight years, like Alcoa, like Lake County. And Haywood gets to play at home, which Lexington hasn't done since the regular season. They haven't had to play on the road. So this will be their first road game. I think this is a great matchup as both teams. Lexington's trying to get their first ever appearance in a state championship. They're 0-3 all-time in the semis. And Haywood's trying to get back for the first time since 2018.
Going to move to 5A. Aaron Torres, you're up. South Doyle 10-3 at Oak Ridge 10-3. Oak Ridge shouldn't be playing here right now. This should be West and Central. This is the matchup no one thought of when you're looking at when people were pulling out brackets. What happened?
This matchup is tough for me. I wrestled with it all weekend and tried to decide a winner. Sean Gary for South Doyle has been an incredible running back all season. He's rushed for 7 touchdowns throughout the playoffs so far. And South Doyle has a really, really good defense. Now, Oak Ridge, on the other hand, they have big wins. They beat Powell in the regular season. They just beat West. And they have, I think, really good receivers and skill players. However, I'm picking South Doyle to win this game. And I'm picking South Doyle for 2 reasons. One, I think South Doyle has a really good defensive core. They have 3 really good linebackers in Noah Myers, Terrell Brown, and Curtis Young. And so they'll be able to stop the run and also get pressure on the quarterback. And South Doyle's secondary is good enough to cover for at least a few seconds while they're getting pressure on the quarterback. And I just think Sean Gary's been kind of unstoppable all season. So I expect Sean Gary to do that again. So that's one reason. Second reason I'm picking South Doyle is because I'm going to be in Chattanooga. So if South Doyle ends up losing and Oak Ridge wins, Joe Gaddis won't be able to say anything to me.
There you go. I think this is probably one of the more intriguing games. I think I'm going to Oak Ridge just because I like Joe Gaddis and all the Bulldogs that he has, and a big fan of what he's done. And nothing against South Doyle at all, but they seem to be on a roll. Summit 12-1 at Henry County 10-2. We're going to have Joe Spears and George Robinson here square off on that. Let's start with Joe. Summit, what can you tell me about them? And
this Summit team is firing, and I know I picked Henry County to get to state, but after watching Summit these last couple weeks and the way Destin Wade is playing, it's hard to pick against them. And I think they're going to give that Patriots defense a lot of fits, especially if Wade continues passing the ball like he has been. So this team, a lot of people may think is just Destin Wade, but defensively they're also really good too. And that's without Keaton Wade. So if they do get Keaton Wade back, which is still unclear at this moment, I mean, you would have to think that they're probably the favorite to win state.
Henry County, they make no bones about how they're going to play you. They're going to run the ball first, and then they're going to play defense. Now, like Joe was talking about with Destin Wade, I don't think they've ever faced a team quite like this, as this talented as this Summit team is. I think Brentwood would probably be the team that Henry County's played this year that would rival Summit. And I don't think they played an opponent as good as Destin Wade. So, it's going to be an interesting matchup. Obviously Henry County's been to the state semifinals. They went a couple of years ago. So this is their second one in the past 4 years. So, it's going to be an interesting matchup, and I'm excited to get this. I've seen Henry County enough this year. They beat up on the Clarksville area schools, every year. So I've seen enough of Henry County. So I'm excited about seeing Summit this Friday night and seeing Destin Wade.
Destin Wade, of course, is the only 5A Mr. Football finalist left playing right now. Not that matters as far as the award winner, because it's a regular season award. I think the only one similar to me that I know Henry County has played this year, when you compare in Destin Wade, is probably Cade Granzo, the quarterback at Brentwood. He's a dual threat guy, similar to Wade. Now the difference is, I think Wade is a kid that can really burn you on long runs, whereas Cade is a bruiser, and he can take off, and he's elusive, but he's a bigger body that will just power you at times running the football. So I think there is that comparison there. Now going to 6A, staying out east, Maryville 12-0 at Oakland 13-0. Aaron, what does Buddy think about Maryville?
If you don't mind, can you talk about Oakland first so I can respond with Maryville? Because Oakland's been the favorite for everybody all season. I still have Maryville thinking they're going to repeat. So I'd like to hear what you and Cecil think about Oakland first.
Well, I'm going to talk about Oakland for a minute. Yes, they've been most of our panel's favorites all year, most of our panel's favorites throughout the playoffs. There's a good reason for that. They are clicking on all cylinders right now, both offensively and defensively. This is the seventh straight state semifinals matchup between Maryville and Oakland. Maryville has won this would be the ninth time they played in the seventh straight semifinals appearance. Maryville has won 5 of the last 8 appearances, but the home team has won each of the last 6 matchups between these two teams. So obviously home field advantage means a lot in this series. What is Oakland's home field advantage this year? I don't know. 2 years ago when Oakland won the state and they hosted Maryville and blew them out 38-0 in the state semifinals, they had a really bad grass field. It rained that day, and I think Maryville people were unhappy with the field conditions, rightfully so. Oakland quickly got turfed right after that. That's in Maryville's wheelhouse. Maryville's a turf team as well. So I don't know how much of a home field advantage, especially with the stands not being packed, that Oakland will have. So I don't know if you can call the home team the favorite this year. But I'm calling Oakland the favorite because of their versatility. Oakland lost to Maryville 12-0 in last year's state semifinal. They didn't have nearly the offensive weapons this team has got. Oakland's added Jordan James, junior running back, junior wide receiver Isaiah Horton to this mix. They have Antonio Patterson, who's got nearly 1,000 yards rushing this year to go with it. This is a really explosive, open offense. Both these teams really have a lot of facelifts since last year's team, but Oakland bringing those guys in is just makes this team a lot better offensively. And Oakland's not playing bad defensively either. If you look at the past 3 playoff games, they've done a really good job defensively against their 3 opponents. And if you want to go back to the offensive side, I mean, Riverdale, I think most will agree, is one of the best defensive teams in the area. And Oakland scored 39 points on them last week. I think it's going to be a good game. Obviously, it's a mixed bag when these two teams play. Oakland's won this battle 37-0 in the past, or 38-0. Maryville's won on last-second field goals. Maryville shut Oakland out last year. So really hard to predict going in, but obviously I'm predicting Oakland to win this game. I picked Oakland to win the state from the beginning, and I'm not wavering on that. I'm going Oakland 27-21.
38-0 game. One thing I think that we need to remember, that was the game where T. Hodge did not play, had turf toe or something. He had some sort of injury, and he could not play in that game. So I think that was a big, it got to the point, Cecil, you were there. They were very, very one-dimensional. They pretty much had to throw the football. They didn't have the run game that they needed with a T. Hodge.
Well, they didn't have their starting quarterback either.
There you go.
I believe.
Well, I think Hodge.
I think they played twice that year. And one year, Maryville didn't have their starting quarterback. That might have been the regular season game. But you're right.
But T. Hodge did not play in the playoff. It made them very, more of a pass team, and they can kind of key up for that. I think here's the thing I think it's going to come down to, and here's the part I don't know, because obviously I've seen Oakland twice this season, and I've seen Maryville. I've not seen Maryville take one snap. I think the quarterback play is the key to this game this week. I think whichever quarterback has the best game wins this game, and I think when it comes down to games like this is where the quarterback steps in. And I think right now, Schlachter at Oakland, he's more or less a facilitator. He's going to hand the ball off more than anything. He can throw. He knows he can throw it up to Isaiah Horton and let him go up and make one-handed catches or whatever, make some sort of play. That is going to be hard to do. You can't do that, I don't think, against a Maryville defense. They've got a really good defensive back that I know Aaron may touch on. That's made a lot of big plays, and I imagine he will be paired up with Isaiah Horton. You're just not going to throw it up and let him do it, because if you throw it up, you may come down with the other team catching it. I'm not going to make a prediction today, or I will say this. I think Oakland's going to win this game. I think it's going to be very close. I think it's going to be a 3 to 7 point game. I haven't actually decided on the exact score. We'll be doing that later today. But I think the play of the quarterback, to me, is the number one thing that I will be looking at this weekend. Aaron Torres, what do you got?
So I have Maryville winning 17-13. The thing I am kind of concerned about is you can run the ball on Maryville. Dobbins Bennett had 241 rushing yards last week in the loss. So I know Oakland has Jordan James, obviously, and he's a really good running back. So that's the concern I have. Now the counter to that is Maryville's pass defense is really, really good. The defensive back you were talking about, his name is DJ Burks. He's a junior. He has 9 interceptions, which leads the team. He's probably the best safety in the area, and if not the state.
He disagreed with you. Buddy disagreed with you right there.
So I think that Maryville will be able to handle the pass defense. Will be able to handle the pass very well, and Derek will be able to make some adjustments to handle the Oakland rushing attack. And then Maryville, they have a good quarterback in Carson Jones, who has shown he can make plays both with his arm and with his legs. Against Alcoa, Maryville was losing, and Carson Jones ran for both touchdowns to beat Alcoa. And Parker McGill is also a really good running back. He's rushed for 20 touchdowns this season for Maryville. So I still have Maryville winning 17-13. And when Maryville wins, Tom, I'm going to need you to dye your beard red.
That's not happening. I think what you just said helps my pick a little bit more when you said that people have been able to run on Maryville. Jordan James is, they took it easy, and Cecil knows this. They took it easy, didn't give Jordan Jones a really heavy load in the regular season. Antonio Patterson and him, they kind of split a lot of the things. And we talk about Jordan James, but in the regular season, Antonio Patterson was probably, at least statistically, their better running back. So right now, Jordan James is starting to do more, but they have another one too in Antonio Patterson that you have to watch out for. They're both very dynamic running backs, and if Dobbins Bennett is running for over 240 yards, I think if I'm offensive line coach David Watson and if I'm Kevin Creasy, I'm thinking of that a lot, thinking about Friday night's game. So that's my thing that may help Oakland. I'm going to go to the last game. Brentwood, the Bruins, travel to Kari Thompson's neck of the woods, to Bartlett. Big game there. It is, Brentwood is 10-3. They're going to Bartlett, that's 8-1. Bartlett's got a heck of a running back there. I'm going to let you start, Kari, unless you're going to decline to me.
I think this game is going to come down to the big boys, because Bartlett loves to run the football. So I think we're going to know very early what type of game this is going to be, whether it's going to be a Brentwood blowout or whether it's going to be a close one, because it's going to come down to whether or not Bartlett's O-line can get out there and push some guys around.
Okay.
I don't know.
Here's why I like Brentwood. If you look at this season they've had, they go 7-3. They win the region on the last week of the season. Number one team there, number one seed out of that region. First week they have 34 players out with COVID, contact tracing. Played a bunch of kids that no one's hadn't played all year. I mean, they had kids in there they had a lot of kids in there, but when they started subbing, I know they had a freshman wide receiver make a play. They had their backup quarterback at receiver for the first series, and then they had to move him over to quarterback when the quarterback got hurt. This team, they find ways to win. Then the next week, speaking of finding ways to win, you got Kate Granzel, fourth down, falling, getting tackled, and he just literally flips it over the defense into the arms of the receiver to win that game. And then this last week was probably the most emotional win they've had all year. You've got Coach Ron Crawford, his mom, passed away this week of COVID complications. And of course, our thoughts and prayers are with the family there, with Ron Crawford, the coach, and the family of Pat Crawford there. Emotional win there, and they are the team. I think they're the storybook team of what they've had to overcome the last 3 weeks. They are that storybook team, and I just don't see Kate Granzo going clear to Bartlett and not coming back with a win. I think he has been so good. He's going to find a way to win this game. It may be, last week he accounted for 7 touchdowns, some passing and several rushing. He's a dual threat guy. He's a heavy duty runner. He's a big kid. He signed with Auburn to do baseball, but he's going to get a chance to play football. In football, he's probably a linebacker or tight end, to be honest with you. He's probably not going to be a quarterback, but he's got that big body that can make plays with his arm and his feet. And I think that right there. And then you got Walker Merrill. He's going to UT, and I was talking to a coach today about him, and it's like he is, to me, Walker Merrill has come leaps and bounds from a year ago. They found other ways to get him the ball other than slants and bubble screens and things like that. They've been able to go vertical at times with him and get him some opportunities to use the speed that he has that we just don't think about. Then they've got the Luke Walters at running back and Aaron Walton at receiver there. So they do have some other options there. I do think they're going to give up some points. I don't think it's going to be a 14-7 type game. I think both teams will probably be in the 20s or more, but I think Brentwood finds a way to win this game and make it to Cookeville, and it will be a great story for everyone with that Brentwood program when you look at what they've gone through over the last month. And folks, please, if you're going to the games, and I posted this on Twitter, it seemed like there was a time when everyone was willing to do anything and everything for kids to be able to play sports. And while we're winding down on football, we're looking at basketball and wrestling in an indoor setting. So please be willing to sacrifice. That means wearing your mask in a sporting event. And you may not want to. You may be dead set against it. But there are medical people that have said masks do help. Please, administrators, please do your part and make sure you socially distance in the stadiums, in the gyms. it is up to you to do your part. And if it gets out of hand, do what you need to do to make sure it's safe for everyone to be there. Players, cheerleaders, coaches, scoreboard operators, and fans, and of course us media. Do what you can. It's up to you guys to make sure we can get through, somehow navigate through what is going to be a very interesting and very tough month, and really next 2 or 3 months as we get through the winter months. So I guess I'm off my soapbox. Folks, have a great Thanksgiving. It's not just the meal. There's a lot to be thankful for, and we'll see you next week.